much. Joining us now from House Oversight, Congressman Byron Donalds, and former senior officer in the Director of National Intelligence Office. He was also with the National Counterterrorism Center's Andrew Borene. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. First to you, Congressman. Critics say, why give Iran $6 billion to begin with? Because even if that money was not spent now, it will free up Iran's other money for Hamas and terror groups. What do you say?
First of all, we should never give Iran $6 billion. All that did was feed the apparatus to continue more terrorism. The Iranians see weakness, Hamas sees weakness, Hezbollah sees weakness. That money should be refrozen, and if we're going to do anything, it should be repurposed to support Israel, because Hamas must be completely and totally defeated.
You know, what the Congress just said, Andrew, where do you come down? Because the reports are coming in the Biden White House enriched Iran by $60 billion by removing Trump's restrictions and sanctions, letting Iranian oil exports increase by nearly 700%, giving the Central Bank of Iran a sanctions waiver. Where do you come down on this?
Yeah, so right now, I believe it's not the time for finger pointing yet. We need to focus on rescuing hostages. Time is absolutely of the essence right now. There are living innocent hostages in the hands of a terrorist group, and the entire world was taken by surprise with this. So we need to really get behind the Israeli armed forces. In 1976, precedent was set by them. It's still taught to our special operators. The Entebbe raid that rescued more than 100 hostages after they were abducted and taken to Uganda. And so I guess where I'm at right now, and where I hope every member of the intelligence services of Israel is at, and you're right, they have to focus on this hostage rescue operation and simultaneously prepare to defeat Hamas completely. Yeah,
defeat it completely, because, you know, the appeasement strategy isn't working, Congressman, and it hasn't worked for years with Iran. I mean, Biden hasn't met with Netanyahu. You know, Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and put the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv. Trump was doing strength, and it looks like appeasement. You know, Trump pulled out of the deal, the nuclear deal with Iran. I mean, Iran has been funding Hamas across 4 presidents, $100 million annually to Hamas, $700 million a year to Hezbollah from Iran, tens of millions to Islamic Jihad. So when you hear numbers like $60 billion going, you know, Iran made that much money since the Biden took office, what do you think?
I think a couple things. First, let's fully acknowledge Joe Biden is the master of disaster. Everything has gone wrong under his presidency, to the detriment of the American people and our allies. That's number one. Number two, we should be on a full front effort to be energy independent, to make sure that American energy is dominating the globe, so it limits the ability for the Iranians to make so much money off of their oil deposits. That's number two. Number three, totally agree with the other guests on this block. We must focus on getting as many people out of Israel, Americans and other hostages, recovering our hostages. We need to do that. The problem is that this administration is put a lid on everything. They're out to lunch. The president has not addressed the world, let alone the American people, about what the strategy of the State Department and the military are going to be to confront this threat and this atrocity from Hamas.
You know, the issue, too, is now reports coming in Hamas is going to execute a hostage for every bomb that hits the Gaza Strip. So the issue, too, is this should never have happened. We need to rescue the hostages now. No more death and destruction. But this White House clearly went through a bit of premature triumphalism on the Mideast when Iran was planning this terror attack for a long time with Hamas. Its policies in doubt. So let's listen. And the question is weapons left behind by this administration in Afghanistan now reportedly being used by Hamas? Watch NSA Jake Sullivan just last week claiming all was good in the Mideast. Watch this.
The Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades.
You insist the Iranian regime won't touch the $6 billion of Iranian funds being unfrozen. But isn't it true that this frees Tehran up to spend more on other nefarious goals like supporting terrorism and boosting its nuclear program?
Well, to the degree that they continue destabilizing activities, and it's, you know, I can't predict what they'll do going forward here.
Iran has unfortunately always used and focused its funds on supporting terrorism, on supporting groups like Hamas.
This money belongs to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and naturally, we will decide, the Islamic Republic of Iran will decide to spend it wherever we need it.
If, in fact, they decide to increase their support for terrorist activities or increase their maritime attacks in the Gulf, we're going to be ready to counter that. We're going to be ready to hold them accountable. We're going to be ready to try to deter that activity.
Listen, Andrew, you're right. We need to get those hostages out now. Yeah. But how will the Biden White House hold Iran accountable? What do you think?
Look, I think that certainly everyone is now awake to the fact that Iran has been the largest state sponsor of terrorism, certainly in my lifetime, in probably all of our lifetime. And Israel is now faced with a choice on how it will deal with its neighbor Hamas. They're not the only terrorist threat group on their borders. There's Hezbollah, there's Islamic Jihad.
So how do you hold Iran accountable? How do you hold them accountable?
No, I think that's what I'm saying. It is absolutely time that the American people and our national allies worldwide, all of our security partners, recognize that Iran is funding terrorism, that it needs to be dealt with as a state sponsor of terrorism, we have to take action.
So freeze the funds, freeze all funding, do what Trump did. Congressman, what do you think? Because we've got pro-Hamas and Palestinian activists at the White House protesting in New York City, disrupting a pro-Israeli rally in Fort Lauderdale. Hamas is ISIS. Hamas is killing Muslims and Saudi Arabians as well. So how do you hold them accountable, Congressman?
Well, look, I agree with you. You have to go back to what President Trump was doing. Number one, he was squeezing them economically. The sanctions regime was working. We were energy independent. Our economy was humming. We were dominating the globe. He did not let them up off the map. We already know what Iran is going to do. They're going to use whatever resources they have in order to take care of the regime and to promote their jihad against Israel, which they have been. We got to stop playing games. And this White House, I'm listening to John Kirby and Jake Sullivan meander talking about all the things that they're going to do. They're going to be ready. They're not ready for anything. And the American people know it. The world knows it. And unfortunately, our enemies know it as well.
So what both of you gentlemen are saying, and Andrew, you've made this good point too, that it's about the messaging that we're saying to the world of what is going on and who these people really are. And now you've got New York Democrat Congressman Richie Torres slamming fellow Democrats, Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib, saying their comments are reprehensible and repulsive, saying the U.S. must stop funding its U.S. ally, Israel. What do you say to that, Andrew?
Well, I think that's bananas. I don't have another word for it. Israel is our ally. Israel is the bulwark of democracies in the Middle East, and it does have Arab allies. There are neighboring partners in countering terrorism. Not all Arab nations in the Middle East are state sponsors of terrorism. Historically, Iran has been. That's why I believe the Wall Street Journal has been kind of sniffing up that tree. If you had a kind of a perpetrator walk of potential suspects of who may have been behind this, because of Iran's historic support for all of those terrorist groups, whether they're Shia or they're Sunni terrorist groups, Iran has supported them if they're anti-Israel. So there's a reason fingers are being pointed at Iran. And I want to, for the listeners, the viewers, to be aware, it's very important that forensics and really good intelligence analysis and detective work be done before there is a formal kind of ascription of blame or ascription of attribution to Iran itself.
Hamas is already on camera. Hamas is already on camera saying, yes, Iran has helped them. So,
yeah, and that's where I say Hamas 100% is a terrorist organization. Okay. And absolutely, Israel will be getting after them to destroy them. But the first thing is save the hostages.
Yes, save the hostages, absolutely, 100%. So moving on to this, Congressman, what do you make of former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton still silent on the terror attack? George W. Bush, Donald Trump, the Carter Center have made statements. Hillary Clinton did too. What's with this silence here? Final word.
They have to be silent because this is an extension of the Clinton foreign policy and the Obama foreign policy. Make no mistake, one of the reasons the North Koreans have nuclear weapons is because of the fecklessness of Bill Clinton. The reason why the Russians have control of Crimea, the reason why the Iranians have been so aggressive is because of the Obama administration policy with the Iranian deal. And by the way, a lot of the people that work for Barack Obama are in the Biden White House. This is the same mindset, the same tactics, the same foolish view of the globe. Look, nobody wants war and nobody wants bloodshed, but you got to understand that strength matters, because when there is weakness in America, it actually brings terror and death around the globe. It has happened every single time. That's why Bill Clinton and Barack Obama are silent right now.
Okay, Congressman Donalds, Andrew Borene, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you.